Good morning. Welcome to Sky News Breakfast. All adults in the UK should be offered a coronavirus vaccination by the end of July, as the Prime Minister this morning promises an acceleration of the rollout. Boris Johnson says this will help protect the most vulnerable and enable an easing of lockdown restrictions. It comes as NHS England confirms more than two-thirds of people aged between 65 and 69 have now had their first jab, just a week after invitations went out. Our People and Politics correspondent Nick Martin reports.
It is an ambitious target that all adults will receive their first COVID-19 vaccine by the end of July, and all over 50s before then, by April the 15th. A sign, perhaps, of the government's confidence in this Herculean national effort. This vaccination site is one of 1,500 nationwide.
What's critical, of course, is that as many people as possible are vaccinated, because the more who are vaccinated, the more individuals are protected and the more society as a whole is protected. The task ahead is to get into the next priority groups that JCVI have recommended, and then, of course, dependent on what the government recommends, we'll be jabbing into the summer.
With more than 17 million people now vaccinated, the Prime Minister might feel confident that he can plot a route out of this crisis. Care homes have already been told that residents will be allowed a visitor from March the 8th, and schools are bracing themselves for a return around the same time, despite concerns from teaching unions. After months in lockdown, all eyes will be on the pace at which restrictions are eased.
So I just can't wait until you can get back out in person and share the moments that we've all had and we have known and grown up with.
It's been explained to me that until the actual infection rate comes down, it's best to stay shielding. So his whatever he says on Monday is not going to make much difference to me.
Probably the schools will be opened and like universities and classes back to normal. Probably that will be the biggest part of it.
Today, key cabinet ministers will meet to finalise their plans before the Prime Minister reveals the so-called roadmap on Monday afternoon.
Boris Johnson knows there's an awful lot riding on this. Move too fast and he risks another wave. Too slow and he risks damaging the economy and people's lives further. But look at the language the Prime Minister is using. He says the route out of lockdown will be cautious and phased.
The success of the vaccination programme remains pivotal to the government's recovery plan. Nick Martin, Sky News, Westminster.
Well, let's take a look now at the latest coronavirus figures for the UK. 10,406 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 were recorded in the most recent 24-hour period. A further 445 people have died within 28 days of testing positive. That brings the UK total to 120,365, and 17.24 million first doses of the vaccine have now been administered. The Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, has called for all schools in England to reopen by the 8th of March, setting himself against education unions who've called the move reckless. The opposition leader was speaking to Sky's Sophie Ridge ahead of tomorrow's announcement by the Prime Minister on easing the lockdown.
The Prime Minister's updating the vaccine target so that every adult should have their first dose by the end of July. You must welcome the news.
Absolutely welcome this news, and I think the whole country will welcome the news. The vaccine is the light at the end of the tunnel, and all credit to those on the front line who've been rolling this out. The NHS have done a fantastic job. I've been to a number of vaccine centres, and it's very, very uplifting, and I think everybody wants to support this, so this is very welcome.
So on Monday, the Prime Minister is going to start outlining the roadmap out of lockdown. What restrictions do you want to see lifted and when?
Well, what I want to see from the Prime Minister is a cautious, careful exit from lockdown. We all want this to be the last lockdown. So we've got to come out of it in a measured way that makes sure that we're not back where we started in a number of weeks or months. So roll out slowly, carefully. Follow the science. I would say to the Prime Minister, publish the science. I think that will give great confidence to what he has to say on Monday when he puts out the roadmap. I think the other thing is recognise that because there will be ongoing restrictions of some sort, businesses desperately need more support. It's one of the reasons we've said that the business rate relief should go on for another 6 months. VAT should be reduced in key areas such as hospitality. So careful, cautious, follow the science, and make sure the support is there for business. They've got this far, they need to survive beyond the next set of restrictions.
Of course, one of the really big decisions is around schools.
Yeah.
The government said its ambition is to open all schools to all pupils on the 8th of March. Teaching unions have said that they are worried about that. They'd prefer a more staggered approach. Which side is right?
Well, ideally, I'd like to see all schools back open on the 8th of March and all children back in schools on the 8th of March. I've been worried through the pandemic, a number of people have, about the impact of being out of school has on particularly vulnerable children, and the attainment gap is getting bigger. So ideally, the 8th of March. We'll have to see, obviously, where the data is, see where the science is, but that's what we should be working towards. If that means more testing, if that means Nightingale classrooms, if it means other measures, let's do that, because I want to get our kids back into school.
So the teaching unions who are saying that it should be staggered, it should be different year groups, you don't support that?
Well, ideally, we want to see all those children back on the 8th of March. That's what the Prime Minister said would happen. We're going to have to go carefully. Of course we are. We're going to have to look at the detail and the data as we go into those weeks just before the 8th of March, see where we are on the infection rates. But, you know, I've always been concerned about the impact on children being out of school. But, you know, actually, I think if we do this together, we can get through this.
Our political correspondent Rob Powell joins me now from Westminster. So the Labour leader there agreeing with the Prime Minister about getting all pupils back at once. Will this new vaccination target that we're hearing about now help the government to do just that?
Well, I think every jab, Gillian, that goes into every arm will help, or make it a little bit easier anyway, for the country to unlock. That doesn't mean, though, that this strategy being adopted by the Prime Minister for pupils in England, all of them back on the 8th of March, that's the ambition anyway, that doesn't mean that that's not a risk. We've heard from unions this weekend that have called the move reckless. They want a staggered approach. I think it's interesting that the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, seems to be setting himself on a different track to the union, saying that he actually agrees with the Prime Minister that pupils should be back in on the 8th of March. I think in reality where we might end up on schools is all schools open but not necessarily all pupils in. And whilst that ambition might be reaffirmed by Boris Johnson tomorrow, the reality might look a little bit different. I think whilst teachers may prefer that on one level, there is the risk, of course, of over-promising and under-delivering from the government. I think as far as the vaccine target goes and that new accelerated timetable, perhaps the opposite is true. I think there's a sort of widespread belief in Westminster that the government may well be able to go even faster than this accelerated timetable in terms of getting vaccinations to everyone. Remember, the head of the vaccine task force earlier this week told Sky News he thought everyone in the country could have both of their jabs by August or September. Now, that would suggest that the first jabs would be going into everyone's arms round about the May time, in a few months' time. I think part of the reason the government is perhaps undercooking this slightly is that they know that things can go wrong, so they don't want to miss targets, but also they know that if they start saying that everyone will have had a jab by the time we get to May, June, that will prompt specific questions about international travel, about summer music festivals, and those are questions the Prime Minister doesn't want to answer yet.
OK, Rob, thank you. The Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, will be speaking to Sophie Ridge on Sunday this morning. You can also catch Sophie's full interview with the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer. That's all from 8:30. Back now to one of our top stories, with Boris Johnson set to announce his plans for the route out of lockdown tomorrow. What do small businesses want to hear from the Prime Minister? Joining me now is Susan Moulton, a florist in Stevenage who specialises in events, and Andrew Brack, landlord of the Jubilee pub in Newcastle. Welcome to you both. Good morning. To you first of all, Susan, tell us and describe for us what it's been like running your business through the last year.
Well, the last year's been really, really hard. I was looking forward to a really good 2020, and one by one my brides had to postpone their weddings to the following year and the year after that, and it was a struggle. There wasn't a lot of help available for freelance florists, but I really hung in there, and was looking forward again to 2021 being a good year, and already up until June my brides have postponed to 2022, I really, really hope that on Monday something will be done about the number of people that can attend a wedding so that my weddings can go ahead.
And Andrew, similarly for you, we know that obviously pubs have been closed. What have the effects been on your business?
It's been up and down because obviously when we could reopen after the lockdowns last year, we did have good trading periods, but it has been a nightmare. We've got a forward plan for events that we do, and it's just hard because we just don't know when this is going to end properly and we can do decent outdoor activities like we've been doing.
How have you been managing thus far? Are most of your staff furloughed? What situation are you in with the staff?
All my staff are currently furloughed. I'm doing takeaways on a Sunday by myself with my daughter helping and one of my sons. And I'm also helping my two sons doing a online burger business that they do. But yeah, all my staff have been furloughed, and I think the furlough's been great for the industry that we've got. And we're just waiting to see when we can get those back and get them working again properly.
Yeah. And Susan, how have you been managing? Because as you say, you've not had the events, particularly weddings, which I believe is the bulk of your trade.
Yeah, it's 80% of my business is weddings. I mean, I'm in a fortunate position. I've got a really supportive family. But, you know, I have friends in the industry who don't have that and have had no help at all. And it's been really hard. And we just keep thinking, oh, you know, maybe it'll go ahead, and then it doesn't. And then brides postpone. And I mean, I don't blame them. They should have the wedding they deserve. But yeah, I'm just hoping that something's going to be said about weddings and events, because we really need that to open back up again.
And Andrew, we're all looking to what the Prime Minister might say on Monday. What specifically are you hoping for? What's the lifeline that you really need?
I think that really we need the pubs to be able to open with far fewer restrictions than there have been. Even the likes of table service, which is very, very labour intensive and costly. We could do with that coming down a lot. I think it's ideal for me to open outdoors, but I think a lot of the hospitality haven't got what I've got outside, and we need to get those open as well.
But you appreciate that public health is the priority, though, don't you?
Oh, definitely. It still is the priority, and I can understand why the lockdowns and the restrictions have taken place. But hopefully, with the vaccinations coming through, we'll get the rates down and we'll be able to open.
Susan, what specifically would you like to hear tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to hear that weddings can go ahead with more than 15 people. I think it's 6. I think if the pubs were to open and restaurants were to open, then I really don't see why there should be a restriction on people at a wedding. So I'm hoping that my summer weddings can go ahead.
Do you have any bookings at the moment that you can look forward to? Is there anything on the books at all?
I have plenty of bookings, but I just can't do any of them because each time we get close to a wedding, I've just had all my April weddings postponed to next year. And I had an email yesterday from a bride who's getting married in June, and she said, oh, fingers crossed for Monday. And it's a really big wedding. And, you know, I don't know. I just need to know. I need to be able to plan. Are my weddings going ahead or not? I need some kind of plan.
Yeah, Andrew, you're shaking your head there. That's exactly what you need. You need some notice. You need to be able to plan ahead. How does it work in terms of stock for you? Because I know at points when pubs were open for a period, they had stocked up and then only to be told they have to close and they'd have to get rid of all of the stock.
We've been very lucky, at least my pub off Green King, and they've taken all stock back and refunded us for that, which has been very, very good. But as the lady was saying, it's the forward planning that we need to be able to plan events and functions. as well. Weddings is one thing. We get parties, 40ths, christenings, everything like that. And it is, you've got to plan those events, staffing and stock-wise.
Very quickly to you both. First of all, to you, Susan, do you think you'll survive this?
I'm not giving up. I've been doing it 34 years and I don't know how to do anything else. So, yep, I'm going to hang in there.
Andrew?
I'm not letting my bride down.
Andrew?
Yeah, I'm hoping that we've got a very loyal customer base. We're a community pub, so I think we will hopefully get the restrictions lifted a little bit, get the bars open, and I think we will force our way through. We'll work through this.
Lovely to hear you sounding so positive, both. Thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, for anyone struggling with their mental health, the internet can provide either refuge or lead to a downward spiral. Josh Hendy was just 21 when he took his own life after searching for harmful content online. Now, his sister, a cybersecurity expert, has created an online intervention tool that she hopes will save lives. Ivor Bennett has more.
Alice Hendy says her brother Josh was the life and soul of the party. At 21, he had so much ahead of him, but in November, he took his own life.
I've got really happy memories of my brother. I just wish he was still here with me.
Souvenirs from holidays together are among the items Alice uses to trigger those fond memories. But after discovering how Josh was able to research suicide on the internet before his death, she was determined to do more than just remember him, creating an online tool to act as a safety net for others in need of help.
My main motivation for this is to prevent other families from going through the pain and the complete devastation that this causes. And if I can just save one more person from this happening to them, then as far as I'm concerned, I would have done my job.
The software Alice created is called Ripple. It's designed to intervene when someone searches for harmful content by redirecting users to a page where they can seek help from charities instead. The Samaritan's helpline does already appear at the top of such searches, but Alice says it's not enough.
What I'm trying to do is provide much more of an interception before the users get to those search results and provide a range of different mental health support options. So not just the Samaritan's helpline number that currently exists, but also a text service, a web chat facility, the downloading of resources or an app.
Given the impact of the pandemic on mental health, charities agree urgent action is needed.
We need sites to have robust content policies in place that govern the type of content allowed, with effective mechanisms to remove content that breaks their policies, or at the very least makes it much, much harder to find harmful content.
Online content encouraging suicide is already illegal, and the government told Sky News that platforms must do more to stop it appearing. It's hoped the new Online Harms Bill will help make the internet a safer place by giving platforms a legal duty of care to protect their users. But while such legislation is welcomed, some believe more still needs to be done. Ivor Bennett, Sky News.
And if you're concerned about your mental health or anything at all that you heard in that report, you can email the Samaritans. The address is joe@samaritans.org, or you can call the number that's on the screen for you now. Time now to catch up with the weather with Naz.
Look forward to brighter skies. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Good morning. So, sunny Sunday for many areas, but not everywhere, I'm afraid. There will be some outbreaks of rain, but it's a much drier affair today across northern and western areas of the UK and Ireland, where it was very wet indeed. There are still some blustery showers across the northwest of Scotland and western parts of Ireland for this morning, and there are mostly patchy outbreaks of rain across parts of East Anglia, over to the Midlands and south and east of Wales and central and southwestern England. That area of rain will be shifting its way a little further westwards this afternoon towards the rest of Wales, northern and southwestern parts of England, central England, the Midlands as well. But many southern counties further towards the southeast and East Anglia as well will brighten up, and actually it will be quite a spring-like afternoon, much like yesterday. It will be mild, temperatures up to around 14 and 15 degrees Celsius, and bright or sunny spells elsewhere for Ireland, Northern Ireland, most of Scotland, but there will still be the continuation of some blustery showers to the west of these areas.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Now, for botanists around the world, the last 24 hours have been extremely exciting. A rare cactus has flowered for the first time ever in the UK. It's called a moonflower because it usually blooms at night, and the petals only last until the morning. Ali Fortescue reports.
Deep in the Amazonian basin, there is a rare flowering cactus. It's almost never been seen outside the tropical forest. But this is Cambridge, where history has today been made.
I think it's one of the most astonishing flowers I've seen.
The rare moonflower is thought to be the first of its kind in the country, and more than 100,000 people have been nervously waiting online for it to bloom.
It was awesome. It was really awesome. I think it's one of those moments where you've kind of been expecting it, and you've seen maybe a couple of images, but it's more or better than anything we could have expected.
Was this the most exciting moment in your career so far?
It's just the strangest thing. It has the weirdest biology, these flattened stems that grow against the side of the tree. It has the floating seeds, the night flowering nature of it, and the weird scent change from pleasant scent to horrible scent. So yeah, it has it all packed into an amazing plant that flowers for a very short time.
We're obviously a long way from the Amazon here, but this water chestnut is just a sort of plant that the moonflower would bloom on in the rainforest. And the temperature here has been kept above 18 degrees, so it is warm, which is the perfect condition for the flower to bloom. And the fact that it has is really exciting for botanists in this country, but it also means that here they can contribute to research about this very rare species of cactus.
Strangely, this flower is known for smelling like Rihanna's perfume, a smell that turns into an unpleasant stench once flowering is over. It was never certain that this would bloom, a plant that is famous for being shy and unpredictable. By sunrise, it will be gone, a fleeting feat, but history has already been made. Ali Fortescue, Sky News in Cambridge.
And we just want to bring you a live shot. Oh dear, it is wilting. I wonder how much longer it's got to last. Well, the moonflower cactus, Seleniceras witty, that's its scientific name for you, native to the Amazon forest, as we know, and one of the plants has been grown in Cambridge. This plant that we see now since its arrival in 2015. But we think by sunset, it'll be saying goodbye. And let's see what's happening with the weather now with Naz. I'm a bit sad, actually.
Yeah, me too. Shall I cheer you up with some nice weather news?
Oh, go on then.
Not everywhere today, but a lot of places will be seeing mainly dry and bright conditions, but there will be a bit of wet weather around as well.
Look forward to brighter skies. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Good morning. Most places will be mainly dry and bright today, a lot drier than it was yesterday, but there's still some wet weather around across parts of central, southwestern areas of England and Wales. It's light and patchy rain, and it's currently sitting across areas of East Anglia, the northeast of England-ish, over towards the Midlands, the southeast of Wales and central and southwestern England. And it's going to shift its way a little further westwards this afternoon to much of southwest England, Wales, northern England and parts of the Midlands. But for East Anglia, it will brighten up, as it will do for the southeast, and for most of Scotland, Northern Ireland and the Republic, it will be a mainly dry and sunny afternoon, except for a few blustery showers across the west of the UK and Ireland. And it's going to be mild once again. In fact, it's going to feel quite spring-like across parts of the southeast, where locally highs of 14 to 15 degrees Celsius are likely. So yes, there will be a bit of wet weather around, but for the vast majority of the UK and Ireland, it will be mainly dry and bright.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
It's 7:43. After the break, we'll take a look at the morning's newspapers with the Sunday Express editor, Michael Booker, and the broadcaster, Anne Diamond. Do stay with us. Welcome back. With us to take us through the papers again this morning, broadcaster Anne Diamond and the Sunday Express editor Michael Booker. Welcome back to you both. Starting with the Mirror, Anne, pages 4 and 5, Vax to New Normal, a very positive story, and some photos of the celebrities that have taken the first vaccination.
Yeah, absolutely right. They've got their little vaccinometer there showing how deeply the needle has penetrated the arm of the nation. And aren't we doing well? In fact, it's not just the Mirror saying this, all the papers are. But what's really good about this particular spread in the Mirror is it just sort of spells out all the numbers to you. How many people have been already vaccinated by February the 15th? They were going to do everybody, the 70s and overs. Already they've gone into the 65 and overs because I've already had mine. Yay.
Oh, well done.
Oh, I know. I had mine last week and thrilling.
Well, I say well done, but you didn't actually do anything.
No, I didn't. No. I know, but it was wonderful. I mean, the feeling in the vaccination clinic was just so brilliant. People were crying with relief and pride and just this mixture of feelings. It was just wonderful. But today, as the Mirror then says, that we're going on to even better targets, hoping to get all people over 50 vaccinated by April 15, and then all adults in the British population by July 31st. And then it says there that a cautious and phased roadmap is going to be discussed by ministers today, including, you know, schools starting to return March the 8th, friends and families meeting, maybe the return of the rule of 6, limited visits to care homes. And you do question why, if you've had the vaccine and your old mum in the nursing home has had the vaccine, and so have all the healthcare workers in that nursing, why shouldn't you go and visit her? So I think things will start to open up, but it's nothing but good news as far as that's concerned.
Yes, it does seem very positive indeed. And staying with scientific breakthroughs, the Times front page, Mike, looking at pioneering heart surgery.
Yeah, again, if you want some good news and a good spread, look in the Times. It's on page 1, it's on page 4 and 5 as well. And it's just, it cheers you up really to see that, you know, obviously we're told that all the medical facilities in this country are under pressure, but there are some that are doing other work away from COVID. This is both Papworth Hospital, where they have heart specialists, and Great Ormond Street. And what they've been doing is, for the first time in children in the world, they've been using a machine that reanimates hearts from donors that have already died, and they've allowed their hearts to die. Unlike usually the donors have come from brain dead patients. What they do, it goes into this machine, it keeps it alive, and they've been put it into, I think it's 6 children between the ages of 12 and 16 over the last year have been saved by this. And one of them, Freya Haddington, the great picture on the front of the Sunday Times, was back home in 10 days feeling right as rain. So it just goes to show there's some great work going out there, and it's a great positive story to put a big spring in your step.
Yes, yeah, and medical breakthroughs abounding. Onto the Mail, their story, science on the brink of beating AIDS, Anne.
Yeah, this is a really interesting feature in the Mail about AIDS. You think 40-odd years ago, when it was hitting everybody so badly and we were so terrified of it, the US's then Secretary of State for Health, Margaret Heckler, said a vaccine will be ready for testing within 2 years. And of course, that was then a prediction that raised eyebrows then amongst immunologists for being a little optimistic. And of course, it was. They have not come up with a vaccine for AIDS until now. Moderna, the company that we've all heard of as being one of the COVID vaccinators, is now testing on humans a vaccine against HIV. And it just shows that in all that time, apparently HIV was a particularly difficult one to fight because it's a retrovirus. And they've fought AIDS in other ways with antiretroviral drugs and different sorts of treatment very effectively over the last 40 years. But now there is a vaccine on the brink of being ready. And that is incredible news too.
That is amazing news. I remember, I'm sure you two do, those adverts back then which said, "Don't die of ignorance," and terrified us all. It's amazing to think that a vaccination is about to be available. Let's have a look at, where should we go? The Mail, Michael, Carrie Symonds, speculation that she might have too much power.
Yes. Well, there has been a number of stories over the last few days about warfare in Downing Street, but internecine fights with various departments, various groups, and Carrie's friends versus some of the old school, more Brexity types in Downing Street. This is the Tory Ball Group, which is one of the oldest Tory think tanks. But what it sounds like is a few dusty old Tories have woken up from a brandy and cigar-fueled sleep and discovered there's a blonde-haired young woman living in Downing Street, and they think, what the hell's going on here? So they've looked into this. Now they want a judicial review into just exactly what influence she has upstairs in the apartment at number 11 where they live, and just to see how much she has to do with all the policy decisions. But no, we all know this. We all understand that people and their partners talk about things. They will talk about things. There has been, as I say, these accusations flying around that she favours certain people in the Prime Minister's team. We had Oliver Lewis leaving on Friday, who was head of the union unit. He was one of Dominic Cummings' old allies. There was talk that the Prime Minister had a row with him because Carrie had told the Prime Minister that Oliver Lewis had been briefing about Michael Gove. So it all sounds a little bit schoolyardy. It has been dismissed by some of the older Tories in the group. So John Redwood says he doesn't really want to be part of this, but it just goes to show they are still fighting like cats in a sack in there when sometimes they should be just getting on with, there's a pandemic going on,
You can't stop a partner's influence, though, can you?
No, not at all. Sure, it's just what happens, isn't it? You get advice all the time from a partner, and we've seen it before. Sam Cam, Philip with Philip May with Theresa May. They all have it. They're up there as a shoulder to cry on and someone to mull things over with. And sometimes it's your connection with real people as well.
Indeed. The Mail, this is intriguing. The very expensive perfume that smells of nothing.
Nothing. Apparently, it is the new craze, but apparently there is something in this. It's called Molecule 01, and when you buy it for £72 for 100 mils, it doesn't smell of anything. You spray it on yourself, you can't smell it at all. But other people do start to notice after a while. Fantastic. And apparently what it is, allegedly so, and there doesn't seem to be any scientific basis in this particular story anyway, is that what it does is it sort of gets your pheromones going, your own natural pheromones, so that you walk around smelling more of yourself, I guess, of your natural, sensitivity, I don't know. But people say that you spray it on yourself, you don't notice, but then after a while you notice that people are saying, "Oh, you smell nice today," and apparently it has some sort. Anyway, it's been recommended by influencers and all sorts of superstars, and it is the latest thing, the fragrance that's very expensive but smells of nothing, possibly of you.
Do you fancy that, Mike? What if you doesn't smell very nice?
I tell you what, you wouldn't want to bottle what my natural smell is. It'd be far too dangerous to unleash on the public.
I don't think pheromones work quite like that.
And what would you think, though? I mean, it's a nice idea, but
it's a great idea.
Perfumes smell differently on each individual, so I mean, it really very much depends on your personal smell, and I don't know if everybody has a nice personal smell.
No, but pheromones aren't smells, are they? Pheromones are chemicals that are a natural, allure. They're just, I think they're a sort of sexual chemical, aren't they?
Ooh,
so
easy.
It's not an actual smell, but they quote an industry insider who said, "I bought it, sprayed it on myself, got in the taxi cab, went home and thought, this is ridiculous. I've wasted this money on nothing." But then within half an hour, everybody around her started to say, "Oh, you smell nice today."
Oh, Michael, Michael, you want to get yourself out there and get some bought.
I'm going to buy some snake oil as well.
Thank you both for taking us through the papers this morning. Good to see you as always. Thanks so much.